I used to believe that if I just gave enough time, effort, pieces of myself, one day they'd see me as family. But on my 30th birthday, a 5-word text shattered that illusion. This isn't a revenge story. It's about the moment I realized I was never chosen, just used. And what happens when you stop being their backup plan and start becoming your own beginning. It was a Tuesday like any other. Lucas sat hunched over his laptop, coffee gone cold beside him. The lines of code on the screen blurred slightly from staring too long. Another bug. Another late night in the making. The hum of his computer, the ticking of the wall clock. Routine, familiar, safe. Then his phone buzzed. One short vibration. He didn't even look right away. Probably some work email or a spam text. But then he saw it. Group chat, family speech balloon. New message. From Mom. He unlocked the phone, thumb dragging slowly across the screen. Stop expecting special treatment. Grow up. 5 words. That was it. No context. No build-up. No warning. He blinked. Read it again. And again. His response was automatic, almost detached. Noted. No punctuation. No explanation. No questions. He placed the phone down gently, like it had suddenly become something fragile. Or dangerous. But the strange part? It didn't hurt. Not in the way he would have expected. It felt more like something had quietly snapped, like a tree branch under too much snow. No sound. Just a shift. The silence around him stayed the same. But the silence inside him, it cracked wide open. He leaned back in his chair and stared at nothing for a while. All these years he'd played the good son. The fixer. The peacemaker. He had shrunk himself down to fit the mold they made for him. Always smaller, always quieter. And now? Now they didn't even pretend. That message didn't just come from his mother's phone. It came from years of unspoken expectations. From every moment he bit his tongue. From every time he made himself useful instead of visible. And maybe, just maybe, this was the moment he stopped. Lucas didn't scream. He didn't send a long text. He didn't ask why. Instead, he opened his banking app. The rent payment, $2,500, automatically sent to his parents every month, had just been deducted. He stared at the transaction for a few seconds, then tapped. Cancel recurring payment. Done. No fireworks. No drama. Just quiet. The next morning, he got up before sunrise. Drove across town to his sister's apartment complex. The SUV, the one he had paid off in full 2 years ago, was parked out front, dusty but still solid. He sent her a single text. Need the car back today. I'll wait outside. No response. But 20 minutes later, she came down in pajamas and bare feet, tossed him the keys without a word. No hug. No eye contact. He didn't expect one. By noon, he was back at his apartment. Sat at the dining table, spread out all the credit card statements, old receipts, and notes, each one a quiet record of everything he'd been giving without keeping score. Then he called the bank. I'd like to close 3 authorized cards under my account. Yes, the ones ending in 1014, 3342, and 8709. There was a pause on the other end. Are you sure, sir? These cards have been active for over 6 years. I'm sure. With each shutdown, rent, car, credit cards, it wasn't anger guiding him. It was clarity. Peace even. He wasn't punishing them. He was just unplugging. Unplugging from a system he didn't sign up for. From the quiet contracts he never agreed to. From the version of love that only worked if he kept sacrificing. For once, Lucas wasn't reacting. He was deciding. And that made all the difference. It wasn't always like this. Lucas used to believe in family the way some people believe in gravity, unquestioning, invisible, constant. You fall, they catch you. That was the unspoken promise. But at 25, something shifted. He was 2 years into his job. Living small but proud. No debts. No drama. Then the call came. It was his mom. Her voice wasn't panicked, just tired. Your dad's business is struggling. We're going to need some help covering the mortgage this month. Lucas didn't hesitate. Of course. A month became 6. Then a year. Then one night after dinner at their house, his mother had said it so casually it almost sounded like praise. "You're the stable one, Lucas. It's your turn." He remembered nodding, smiling, not realizing that somewhere in those words, something had been quietly sealed. There was no formal ask, no conversation, just a shifting of weight, like someone had placed a stone in his hands and walked away. From that moment on, the expectation was fixed. He was the fixer, the provider, the fallback plan. His siblings still lived recklessly, credit cards maxed out, dreams half-chased, always landing on their feet, because Lucas was the net. But no one ever asked if he could keep catching them, or if he wanted to. And he never said no, because saying no felt like betrayal, like failing the role he never auditioned for, but was told he was born to play. Now, at 30, Lucas looks back and realizes it wasn't generosity that kept him giving. It was fear. Fear of letting them down, of being seen as selfish, of being left out. But fear isn't the same as love. And roles, even the ones we didn't choose, can be rewritten. Last year, Lucas drove 6 hours straight, through desert highways and a cold November night, just to surprise his family for Thanksgiving. He didn't tell anyone he was coming. He thought it would mean something. It didn't. When he walked in, his mom looked up from the stove, startled, but not exactly thrilled. "Oh, you should have told us. Haley and Matt are staying in your room." He ended up sleeping on the living room couch. No blanket, just a scratchy throw and the sound of Haley laughing through the wall. He told himself it was fine, that it was just for one night. Thanksgiving dinner the next evening was loud and crowded. Plates clattered, wine flowed, someone brought a Bluetooth speaker. And somewhere between mashed potatoes and pumpkin pie, his dad raised his glass and said, "Let's toast the man who pays our bills but still can't keep a girlfriend." Everyone laughed. Except Lucas. He smiled. But it was the kind of smile that hurts your teeth. The kind you do when you're holding something in so tight it might shatter. No one noticed. Or if they did, no one cared. That moment, small as it was, cut deeper than anything else that year. Not because of the joke, but because it revealed the truth. His value wasn't in who he was, but in what he gave. His presence wasn't special. His boundaries weren't respected. And his pain? It was the punchline. That night, lying curled on the couch again, Lucas didn't cry. But something inside him did go quiet. It wasn't just the jokes. Disrespect had a pattern in Lucas's life, a slow, quiet drip that became a flood. A few months after Thanksgiving, Lucas was on his lunch break, scrolling Instagram. That's when he saw it, a photo of his sister, Haley, and his parents on a beach in Cabo. Drinks in hand, matching shirts, sun-kissed smiles. The caption read, "Family vacation grateful for every moment." He hadn't been invited. Not even told. It stung, but not like a slap. More like a cold wind hitting a crack that was already there. Then came the credit check email. His FICO score had dropped. Confused, Lucas dug deeper and found a newly opened Target credit card under his name. His mother. She used his information to open it. No heads up. No apology. Just shrugged when he brought it up on the phone. "It's just for household stuff. Don't be dramatic." And then, a week later, the final straw. Lucas received a letter from a loan company addressed to him, but with information he didn't recognize. Turned out his father had used Lucas's name to co-sign a personal loan. Without asking. Without even telling him. No emergencies. No explanation. Just entitlement. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about something deeper. They didn't see him as a son or a brother. Not really. They saw him as infrastructure. A walking credit line. A fallback plan. Someone reliable, but ultimately disposable. And the most painful part? He had allowed it. Because for years, he mistook their dependency for love. It was supposed to be just another Tuesday. Lucas was eating alone, a quiet dinner after work. He checked the family group chat, mostly out of habit. Then he saw it. His father had posted a photo of Lucas's birthday wish list. A pair of socks, a journal, and some books. Items he had shared weeks ago with just his mother. The caption? Socks? Really? Man turns 30 and asks for socks. Underneath, his sister chimed in. Classic Lucas. Maybe throw in some cat food and call it a party. The reactions poured in, laughing emojis, sarcastic gifs. No one thought twice. No one asked if he was okay. Lucas didn't reply. He didn't defend himself. He just stared at the screen for a moment, then turned it off. Something in him shut down. Not from anger. Not even from pain. But from clarity. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was the pattern. This was who they were. And who he was, to them. A reliable joke. A running punchline. Someone to laugh at when the bill was already paid. So that night, Lucas opened a private folder on his laptop. Started compiling screenshots, emails, receipts. Years of messages, account activity, bank transfers. Not to retaliate. To reclaim. Because somewhere deep down he knew. If they never respected what he gave, they would sure as hell disrespect what he took away. And this time, they wouldn't see it coming. A week had passed since his birthday. Not a call. Not a card. Just silence. Then, on a rainy Thursday, Haley finally texted. Come over. Family dinner. Don't be dramatic. Lucas stared at the message. He almost laughed. But he replied. Sure. I'll be there. That Sunday, he pulled into the familiar driveway. The house looked exactly the same. But something in him had changed, permanently. He walked in calmly, holding nothing but his laptop bag. His mother gave him a half hug at the door. His father didn't look up from the TV. Haley was already at the dining table with her boyfriend, pouring wine. Look who finally showed up, she said. Lucas smiled politely. Yeah. I brought a little something. They thought he meant dessert. He sat down. Opened his laptop. Inserted a small USB drive. A folder popped up, Debt and Lies. Before anyone could speak, Lucas projected the screen onto the living room TV. And then he talked. No yelling. No accusations. Just facts. The $2,500 monthly rent he'd covered for 2 years. The credit cards opened in his name. The loan his father applied for using his identity. The family vacations he paid for, without ever being invited. They sat frozen. No one laughed now. I'm not here to fight, he said. I'm here to close the account. Then he stood up. Starting today, you don't have access to my money, my credit, or my name. And with that, he picked up his bag and walked out, leaving behind a room full of silence. This wasn't revenge. It was release. Lucas didn't leave the dinner immediately. Before stepping out the door, he turned back, calm as ever, and said, You should hear yourselves. He clicked another file. The living room filled with the shrill voice of their mother, recorded in a voicemail. Grow up and pay for her school. You don't get to back out now, Lucas. Then another clip, Haley's voice, casual, laughing with a friend. Just let him pay. He feels important when he plays hero. No one moved. The silence was sharp. Lucas kept going. On the screen, a scanned PDF, his signature, forged. Next to it, a loan application for $45,000. Filed by his father. Same name. Same address. Same last 4 digits of his social security. He didn't accuse anyone. He didn't raise his voice. He just stood there, letting the facts echo louder than rage ever could. You didn't need me, Lucas said quietly. You needed what I could give you. And you convinced me that made me part of this family. Then he paused. But families don't lie. Families don't steal. He looked at each of them, mother, father, sister. No tears. No drama. Just a clean cut. I was never your backup plan. I was your safety net. And now the net's gone. He closed the laptop. Packed the USB. And this time, he really did leave. They had always seen him as the provider. The fixer. But now, all that remained was a man who had stopped apologizing for waking up. Just as Lucas packed up his laptop, he turned toward the hallway. Liam, he called. You can come in now. From the doorway stepped a tall, quiet figure, Liam, Haley's ex-boyfriend. The room froze. Haley's jaw dropped. Are you serious right now? But Lucas didn't flinch. Liam gave a polite nod to everyone, then placed a slim folder on the dining table. I didn't come here to attack anyone, Liam said calmly. But I do think the truth deserves a seat at this table. He opened the folder. Screenshots, emails, text messages. One after another, Haley lying, guilt-tripping, manipulating. Fake emergencies. Cried wolf about rent, car repairs, even health scares. All designed to get Liam or Lucas to cover costs, or show up when convenient. One message read, "Just say you're sick. He'll drop everything and come." Another, "Lucas owes us. He always folds when he thinks we're hurting." Haley stood up, red-faced, shouting, "That's private. You can't just." But her voice was drowned out by silence. Her mother looked away, her father sat motionless. Lucas didn't speak. He didn't need to. The room had turned against itself. Even the walls seemed to pull back from the weight of so much unspoken rot finally unearthed. "I stayed quiet for too long," Liam said, his voice low. "I thought keeping peace was the same as being kind. But it just let this cycle keep going." He turned to Lucas. "Thank you for not pretending anymore. I couldn't either." Lucas nodded once. A quiet agreement between two men who had finally drawn the line. Lucas stood up slowly. His chair made a soft sound against the hardwood floor, but in the tension of the moment, it sounded like thunder. He looked around the table, at faces that once shaped his whole identity. Then he spoke, not with anger, not with spite. Just truth. "You wanted the silent son," he said, voice steady. "The one who just showed up, paid up, shut up." The pause. "But I'm not your wallet anymore. I'm not your guilt sponge. I'm not your backup plan." He reached into his coat pocket and placed a small object on the table, his old house key. "You don't get to rewrite who I am. I do. I'm the author now." Haley muttered something under her breath. Their mother's hands trembled near a wine glass. Their father blinked, as if trying to rewind time. But Lucas was already moving. Certain. As he walked to the door, someone knocked over a glass. It shattered. His mother called his name, voice sharp with panic, like a cord snapping under pressure. "Lucas, don't you dare walk out like this." He didn't turn around. Not because he wanted to hurt them, but because he had finally chosen to protect himself. The air outside hit his skin like a breath he hadn't allowed himself in years. Free. He got into his car. No tears. No rage. Just one quiet truth humming in his chest. He had finally stopped being theirs, so he could start being his. That night, Lucas sat alone in his apartment. The lights were off. Only the soft glow of his laptop screen lit the room. His heart wasn't racing, but it was heavy. 4 hours he stared at the folder on his desktop labeled receipts, emails, screenshots, voicemails, bank statements, his life in evidence. Then, with one long breath, he opened a blank post. At the top, he wrote, "Family shouldn't feel like debt." And below that, he told the truth, not for pity, not for revenge, but to be seen. Finally, he uploaded the audio of his mother screaming into the voicemail. The screenshots of credit cards opened in his name, Haley's texts, his father's forged documents. He ended the post with this: "To anyone else who's been guilted into silence, you're not crazy. And you're not alone." Then he hit post. He closed the laptop, sat in silence. It didn't take long. An hour later, his phone buzzed nonstop. By morning, the post had been shared over 30,000 times. People wrote from everywhere. "I thought I was the only one. This is my family too. You gave words to pain I never knew how to name." Some shared their own stories. Some just said, "Thank you." Others cried through their messages. Lucas didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. But for the first time in years, he didn't feel invisible. He had stepped out of the shadow of obligation and stood fully in his own name. It didn't happen overnight. Healing never does. But months after the final dinner, after the fallout and silence, Lucas stood in the doorway of a new apartment. On the 21st floor. Quiet. Right. The kind of place that echoed softly when he walked across the hardwood floor barefoot. He looked out through the wide glass windows, Phoenix below him, stretching like an open page. He could breathe here. No footsteps down the hall. No crashing voices. No obligations disguised as love. The first night in the new place, he didn't unpack. He just sat on the balcony with a blanket wrapped around his shoulders, watching the city lights flicker like fireflies. And for the first time, he allowed himself to feel everything. Not the rage, not the grief, but the space they left behind. The quiet that came after choosing himself. In the weeks that followed, Lucas took another leap. He registered a company, Noted Solutions, named after the one-word text that ended the cycle. He'd help others navigate toxic dynamics in personal finance and boundaries. A consulting firm for people learning how to say, enough. Clients came slowly at first, then steadily. People who had also paid the price for loyalty. People who needed someone who understood. He never called what he did healing. But every time he helped someone draw a line, every time he showed them how to reclaim what had been taken, it stitched something back together inside him. One evening, while finishing up a Zoom call with a young woman who had just cut financial ties with her narcissistic parent, she said, "I didn't think freedom could feel this calm." Lucas smiled. "It doesn't always come with fireworks," he said. "Sometimes freedom is just a quiet room, and no one's name on your credit card but yours." He closed the laptop, looked around his space. The shelves were still a little empty. The couch was secondhand. But everything here was chosen, not inherited, not expected. It was his. As he poured himself a cup of tea, he thought back to a line he had once written at his lowest. Sometimes walking away isn't selfish, it's survival. He would add something to that now. And survival, over time, becomes rebirth. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, rooted. Because real family, whether blood or chosen, doesn't drain you. They sustain you.